this session's called Claiming the Future We Want. Julia Pyper is coming back to the stage. She hosted the Political Climate podcast yesterday. She's also a contributing editor with Greentech Media, longtime reporter on these issues. And with that, I'm going to introduce Julia to host a session with the youth. Julia, thank you. Please join me in welcoming Julia.
Hello. All right, anywhere you guys would like. I guess I'm not a youth anymore, but I'm a millennial, so I get to use my phone up here, so bear with me. All right, so I'll introduce my panelists. We have, going furthest to closest, Eloise Pendle-Herbert. Am I saying that right?
Aber.
Oh, Aber?
Aber, yeah.
Okay, apologies. And you are from right here in Sun Valley. And then we have Thomas Morell from Seattle, and then Axel Katz from New York. Great. And so we're going to go through what you guys learned over these 3 days of the Sun Valley Youth Forum. I know that yesterday you had this working group day where you came up with big ideas to solve the issues of plastic pollution, transportation, and food. So let's actually go down the line and hear what you guys came up with. Axel, what do you got?
Awesome. So we started with the Sage School. There's a problem in the Sage School about they grow a lot of their own food, but the food doesn't come back to them. It's not a circular system. The kids are learning about food and their food systems, yet they don't really get to fully, viscerally experience that. So we came up with a way to bring it all back. So to have credits with restaurants, partnering with restaurants to just bring this whole circular system, engage the community, engage all stakeholders, and really, bring food into these children's lives.
Fantastic. Tom?
Yeah, so my issue is transportation. So we looked at my school, it's a kind of unique school, and it's in an area where it's hard to get there. Like, there's not a lot of public transportation. The school bus infrastructure is limited, and it's hard to bike to. And so really the only way to get there is cars. And when everybody is driving themselves to school, you have a lot of people taking their own cars and driving themselves. So we wanted to figure out how can we reduce the emissions coming from these cars and actually get people to carpool. So our solution was to make it as easy as possible for people to carpool. So we made a little concept for a carpooling app that could run through the school and have people find carpools to make it really easy for them.
Awesome.
So my group was thinking about the problem of single-use plastics at school events, and our idea kind of morphed into more of something that could help the town, I guess. But it's like people bring in a pound of plastic and get a reusable water bottle, and it'll cut down on their single-use plastics, and it'll help clean up our streets and their homes.
And I remember you guys, I saw your pitch and you were deciding what to do with the plastic once you got it. What did you end up coming up with for that?
So we kind of had two ideas. One was to give it to the middle school art teacher. She loves to do art projects with that kind of stuff. So make a big mural or something, kind of Von Wong-esque. And then the other was to sell it or donate it back to companies that can turn it into something that can be used again.
Awesome. So I guess, what did you guys learn from this process? What was it like working on these issues yesterday? Had you done anything like that before? What are your takeaways?
Well, I mean, we've done stuff similar to this in school, the whole kind of you get a problem, you come up with a solution, the step like that. But what was really unique about doing it this time is we had a lot of support from people who were attending the forum, people who had a lot of experience in doing this type of problem solving that we were looking at. So we started kind of on our own, and we would go, and we just kind of, an anything's go kind of solution. We started with Post-it notes. We'd stick them on the wall, and we're like, okay, like for transportation, we're like, oh, maybe we can try like hover cars, or everybody gets an electric car. And then we went and we whittled it down, and we said, okay, this idea won't work. This one might be really good, though. And we made our little solution list. And then from there, we started looking in deeper, seeing which ones were the most practical. And from there, we got some feedback on it. And so like from the people who were on the youth panel yesterday, they would say like, oh, you might want to think about like these liability issues, or like, would people really be into this? Like, it sounds great in theory, but how well will it really work?
And building off of that, the unique benefit and value to being at a conference like this around sustainability is not just, oh, we're brainstorming. This is a very typical thing that you can find in any kind of corporate, in a corporate Vogue setting, right? But we're with leaders and thinkers who love to create these sustainable systems. That's why we're all here, to learn and think about how we can bring everything together, close the loop, engage all stakeholders, and really just make sure that we're living and we're building a future that we want.
Yeah, and our ideas, listening to the feedback that all of our guest judges had, it really they whittled it down for us and gave us new ideas, and it made it seem really possible for it to happen.
What about on the content side? Was there something about the issue that you covered that you learned this week that you didn't know before about plastic pollution, food or transportation? Was there a shocking stat or something you want to do with this information?
So I have two. So by 2050, there's going to be more plastic in the ocean than fish, which is kind of insane.
Wow.
And then also, people say, like, oh, we're recycling all of this, but only 9% of plastic gets recycled.
Wow.
Yeah, and I got to look in a little deeper to like what the percentage of emission that comes from cars and trucks. And I mean, it was really staggering because it's such a large chunk of it. So, and a solution like such as carpooling for my school could easily cut the amount of emissions we're making from cars like in half.
Wow.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it's a particular statistic, but it's more of an emotion. A couple hours ago, we were out cooking with Mark Brand. I'm a little dirty still from the farm. But what we realized is just how important food is in bringing everyone together. And then if we really want to build something like in the Sage School, engaging everyone and creating this great community around food, that it's much bigger than ourselves, it's much bigger than, oh, let's just solve this problem around sustainability that we're given. This is really about building empathy and building impact.
How'd you guys get all so good at public speaking? Jeez, I'm like taking notes over here. Kudos to you. I guess what are you guys gonna do next when you leave this conference? What is like one tactical thing you think you will do with what you've learned here?
Well, I'll be off to college next year. I just finished high school, so I'll be more engaged and aware to these issues. Because now that we've got lots of people that told us what the solutions to these problems are, but I mean, like getting people engaged and like finding fellow students who are interested in also solving the problems will definitely be something that I'll keep my eye on.
Yeah, I, on the other hand, am just starting high school, so I have a long run ahead of me to make a difference at my school. So I want to like teach people about it, because from here we don't see the ocean that much. It's not necessarily directly related to us, but it is, and everybody should care about that. Even here, we're making a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the middle of these two, even though I'm sitting on the end. But it's all about, I'm in the middle of my high school years. I'm going into junior year next year. And it's just about further building and engaging people. I feel like in my school, people kind of grasp the situation. They grasp that climate change is happening, but they don't have the visceral sense of the impact of what it is and how it's radically changing our world, or what the solutions are and how impactful those solutions are. So just tying everything together, tying the fear of all the scary situation we're in, but also the joy, the opportunity that we have.
Being a communicator on this primarily.
Exactly.
I guess that prompts a question in my mind. We heard statistics about young people being more engaged on climate than ever before, but I wonder, when you talk to your peers, is the issue getting just more help on, again, tactical things like funding or specifics, or is it about just getting people to care more overall? Where in the evolution of action are we?
At my school, people don't really take the time to really know what's actually happening. It's a far off problem. So even if we could just educate people to school assembly or something, it would help our chances of making a difference so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed among my peers that everybody realizes climate change is a big problem. We know it's a problem. We want to do something about it. But, and I'm guilty of this too, but we don't quite know what to do, and we don't know how to do it. And so people are motivated and they know what's going on, but they need to be almost called to action, and there needs to be an easy way for them to help out.
I think easy is key. Yeah. The millennials always get in trouble for this. We're clicktivism or whatever, where you just want to press a button and help out. We care.
We like easy.
I know. So that's a challenge. I agree. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there's been this immense cultural shift in the past couple of years around climate and around the environment. The same thing we've seen with guns, with March for Our Lives, where young people get it, they care. We just need to figure out something to do and act. Even with March for Our Lives, people acted, people went out on the streets, but what are the real legislative actions that have been taken? I mean, we've banned bump stocks, but other than that, where are semi-automatic rifle bans? Where are the further steps? And so I guess there's a little bit of, maybe not of apathy, but of disengagement, because people get so engaged and then they realize, well, what are these systems?
What
Where are
next?
they helping us? And we don't see any.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a multi-step thing. We've hit the first step. People are engaged, people care, and then it's a matter of what do they do next? How do they get involved?
Yeah, like what happens the day after the protest or something? Yeah.
Yeah, and like coming here, I saw all these kids that are doing these crazy things. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like 2 years younger than them, and I've done nothing with my life.
Oh my gosh.
But
Only 15.
You are good, girl. Do not worry.
and but like seeing those
The
people
ambition,
realizing
I commend you.
seeing those people and like realizing that like I can make a difference even if I'm only 13, that there is stuff for me to do. Like
I'm still laughing at being 13, being like, I haven't done anything with my life. That's awesome. I guess in our remaining time, I'm curious if there's like a specific anecdote or moment that you started to care about climate change. Was there something that got this to really click for you and spend all this time on it?
Yeah, I mean, probably the most meaningful thing to me in actually seeing climate change is I'm from Seattle, so we have a lot of mountains. Mountains get covered in snow, and there's been a lot less snow on those mountains. So it's something, it's very visually noticeable, and I mean, and you can see pictures of mountains all over the world and how their glaciers are receding. And like, I was just in Iceland with my family too, and there's a lot of glaciers in Iceland that are losing their glacier status, and now have these really weird names because they can't be called glacier anymore.
Did you see that? I think Iceland just put up a monument to the first
Yeah.
glacier that got lost to climate change. How terrifying. Ugh.
Yeah, and so I mean, I've been able to see that happen in front of my eyes and see these glaciers recede, and I mean, it just shows that something needs to be done.
Right.
I think that I was like interested in climate change before I came to this forum because like it's such a big problem, but really coming here and like hearing how staggering the statistics are, you're like, whoa, like I'm not gonna be able to like do any of the things with like my future family or even my current family that I did when I was little, and how quickly that's changing. Like it needs to like start getting fixed like now.
Yeah, I remember you telling a story about fishing with your dad, I think, and the idea that just there'll be like water bottles and pollution that are getting caught in your hooks one day. It's just it was a good visual, not a positive visual, but vivid. Do you have an anecdote?
Yeah, so I really got interested in climate from my mom. Sitting over there, she's a big climate activist, and I've always heard about the problem at the dinner table, but I really started to get interested in it when I realized all the opportunity and the solutions to come together on this, where we can transition companies to renewable energy, governments to do that, the technologies around this, the social movements, all of this. We are living at the precipice of probably the most important moment in our nation and world's history. We have the largest problem ever. We have the greatest tools, and we can really make something happen. That's amazing.
That made me both terrified and optimistic at once. It's a precipice of a horrible disaster, but we can do it. I guess, what is the one area, because we have 2 minutes, I'm curious, you mentioned that next step is the challenge. So what are the next steps that you think are most important? Do you think you want to get more involved with, say, working with corporations? Do you want to get more involved in policy? What is the lever you think is most meaningful to pull on for young people?
Yeah, I would say for young people, culture. So that's corporation. We were hearing from Daniel Dart this morning about how culture is the driver of change. And governments are going to move, and they're going to move slowly, but they always act in terms of culture. So if we can get corporations, if we can just mobilize and say, we're not going to do this, we have so much power as a people, and as, you know, if you talk about economics as the demand side of the world, and just getting out there, making our voices heard, and saying that we're not going to stand to destroy our future and our livelihoods.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have to agree with that as well. Like the culture of young people and going out, and there's a lot that young people can do with corporations, and corporations that are emitting large amounts of greenhouse gases. Young people, just by changing the culture around it, or talking to those corporations and saying like, we don't want to be involved with you anymore, that has a lot of power in making a difference.
Yeah, I think that a really good place to start, even if you're not like suing the government and doing all this like really great stuff, a good place to start is just informing your peers and your community. Because like it's really cliche, but like information is a really great weapon. Like once people know about it, they're gonna want to get motivated and involved, and it's gonna make a change.
Fantastic. Well, I think everyone's motivated by you guys speaking here today and the words that you've shared, so thanks so much. Right, let's do it.